Hello! Welcome to Life Strategies with Nat. I am your host, Natalia, aka Nat, founder of the Life Fulfillment Academy. It is so great to have you here. I'm here every week talking to you, high achievers, about how to create your best life, how to create transformation so that you can just thrive and just lead the best life ever, the life that you're craving. Whether that's getting clear on what you want, whether that's overcoming unhealthy habits or mindset blocks that are keeping you stuck, that's what we're all about at the Life Fulfillment Academy, and that's what I try and do here when I talk about life strategies. It's how can you get better at life? How can we all get better at life? So today we're continuing the discussion around imposter syndrome because it's a big one. And I have to say, I've been moving all day, so, this is what's happening. Getting ready to fly to Switzerland tomorrow, go see the fam. So excited to see my niece. And to Canada thereafter pretty shortly. So it's exciting. But I couldn't miss this episode because it's going to be a good one. So we're talking about 5 imposter syndrome types. And if you're a high achiever and you're a perfectionist or a superwoman or superman, depending on who's watching, this episode is for you today. I want to help you try to battle the imposter syndrome when you are a perfectionist, when you are superhuman, superwoman, superman, because it can really make a big difference in terms of your mindset, your energy, and just you being able to thrive, really, to really perform at your best. So last week we had JoJo Ellis, mindset strategist, and she was one of my mindset coaches at one point, and I just love talking to her because she knows so much about this topic. So to recap, and guys, if you're joining in and you're live, give me a hey, like in the comments, or a hashtag live. And if you are on replay, give me a hashtag replay, because it is always great to come back and say hello. And I'm always checking the comments to see if there's any questions that you guys have. So yeah, let's get going. Hey. Okay, so recap. Imposter syndrome is all about... It's a psychological phenomenon, and it happens to high achievers, believe it or not, because we always are thinking, it's this belief that you have that deep down you feel like you're not good enough, like you're inadequate somehow, or you're incompetent, no matter how many degrees you have, no matter how much experience you have, no matter how many skills you have, and even if you're quite successful, you can even fall. I don't like using the word victim, but you can fall into this trap of imposter syndrome. And so what I wanted to do is really talk about the perfectionist and the superwoman, superman, depending on who's watching, because I really identify with those two, and I really felt it back in my corporate days, especially. And I had to do a lot of inner work to really break through those blocks that I was facing. So I just want to talk about the 5 personality types, because we're only going to get through 2 today, just because of timing, and because I don't want to rush through it. But so the perfectionist, the superwoman, the natural genius, the soloist, and the expert. And I coined these from it's Dr. Valerie Young. Sorry, I just had to remember her name there. Dr. Valerie Young, she does a lot of work on this, and she's a psychologist. And so when I read that, I really identified with it. So I wanted to sort of speak to those personality types. So if you think about perfectionists, imposter syndrome, they really go hand in hand. You know, perfectionists are they set excessively high goals for themselves. And when they fail to reach a goal, they can really be hard on themselves. So, and they can get a lot of self-doubt sort of coming up within them, like, oh, I'm not good enough. Why did I do that? You know, why did I say that? I should have said this. I should have done that. And we worry about measuring up to people around us as well. Maybe people that aren't even in our circle, but that we hold in high regard. And, you know, whether you realize it or not, you could also find yourself being a control freak. Meaning, like, you have to do it all yourself, or like no one else can do it better than you can. I know I used to have a big problem with that. I used to want to take on everything because I was like, no, like I can do it the best. And I really want to ask you guys, because if you're not clear, like if you're still thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm a perfectionist, let me ask you 3 questions. And if you identify with these questions, I'm going to ask you to put a letter in the comments, just so I know, because it's going to be interesting to go back and really see where everyone lies. And it actually might help me create some other content for you guys. So it'd be really appreciative if you could do that. But my first question to you perfectionists, if you're not sure, or maybe think, but you're, again, not sure, have you ever been accused of being a micromanager? Type A in the comments. So type A if you've ever been accused of being a micromanager. So we're talking about perfectionists for anyone who's just joined. And I want you to write an A in the comments if you've ever been accused of being a micromanager. Type B if you're not good at delegating, or if you are good at delegating, if you're never quite satisfied with the results that you're getting. And I want you to type C if when you miss the insanely high mark, because it is an insanely high mark that you're setting yourself up for, because you're a perfectionist, right? You're a high achiever. When you don't miss that mark, when you don't miss that goal, do you dwell on it? So do you dwell on it and think about it and think, I suck, like I'm just not good at this? So I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to see your comments in the end. If you're just joining in, you might want to go back and watch from the beginning, but we're talking about imposter syndrome and personality types and ways to battle imposter syndrome. So what I would want to ask you next is, what is your definition of success? And I ask you this because A, it's different for everybody, and it will change as you change, as your values change. And the second reason I ask is because when you are a perfectionist in all sense of the word, you are rarely satisfied with your success. And that can be a problem, because you should be proud of everything that you do. And it's that feeling like, well, you're never satisfied because you always think that you could have done better. So if you're experiencing burnout right now, I want you to just type in the comments, yes. And I'm only asking this because, you know, being a perfectionist, it can be exhausting, because you're taking on lots, you're not satisfied with what you're doing, you're not recognizing yourself for being the amazing person that you are. and it can really do a number up here, right? And so it's not productive and it's not healthy. Okay? So what do? How do you battle this? So if you're a perfectionist, here's what I want you to do. I want you to celebrate your wins, every single one of them. Write it down on a piece of paper, start a shoebox, start a little jar, whatever you can do. You got to celebrate every single win, because we're so hard on ourselves. We're so quick to remember what you didn't do well, and you forget about all the amazing things that you've done, all the amazing things that you've achieved. So that's number one. That is key to avoiding burnout, which is why I asked the question. It's key to finding contentment, and it's key to fostering and cultivating that self-confidence within you, okay? The second thing I want you to do is learn from your mistakes and move on. Try not to dwell. And when you do catch yourself dwelling and thinking, oh, I should have done this and I should have done that, and oh, I should, just stop for a minute and just think about what did go well. And then think about what didn't go well and what can I improve on for next time. Because it's a journey. We're happiest when we're progressing. We're not happy when we're striving for perfection. We're happy when we're striving for excellence, right? I'm always saying that, and I like words to live by. And the third thing I want you to do, and this is probably the hardest, because it's all about action, but I want you to push yourself to just go for it, even when you're not ready. Because I'll tell you something, you are never ready, okay? You just aren't. It's just the way it is. And so you're only as ready as you're willing to act. So go for it. So that's perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and ways that you can battle that, okay? If you have questions, let me know, or just if you even on the replay, like I'll come back and answer any questions or anything. So now we're moving on to Superwoman or Superman, depending on who's here, who's watching. So, given people with imposter syndromes feel like a fraud, they feel like they're phonies. This, like compared to their network, their colleagues, like anyone that is around them, you will often push yourself to work harder, not smarter, work harder and harder to measure up. Okay, so I tell you what's happening is it's a false cover-up. That's what it is. It's a false cover-up of your insecurities. Because, well, and if you're not careful, like if you're working harder and harder just for the sake of it, then, I'll tell you, you are, like the heavier your workload, the more probable it is that you're harming your own mental health. And you're probably also harming relationships with other people. And if you're still not sure if this is you, so here are my other 3 questions. So write down a D if you identify with this. So do you stay later in the office than everybody else, even past the point where you've done all your work for the day? I used to do this a lot. Write down E if you get stressed when you're not working. Like when you have some downtime and you're like, oh my God, what should I be doing? I need to be doing something. I can't just sit here and relax. No. Oh, I used to do that a lot too. And write down an F if you feel like you haven't earned your title. If you feel like, what I mean by that is you feel like you haven't earned your title despite all the schoolings, despite all the learnings that you've had, despite all of your achievements, your degrees, everything. in the sense that you feel pressed to work harder and longer in order to prove your worth to everyone around you, and maybe even to yourself, but it's usually for others. And it's a term that we're going to coin as imposter workaholics. I just love that. It's like you're addicted to the validation that comes with working hard. And it's not the work itself. It's just the validation of, oh yeah, good job. You're working hard. Oh, she's staying late, like. And sometimes people, it's a cultural thing in the workplace. Like it's like, oh, look at so-and-so leaving on time, and, like, just squash it. Like, in your heart of hearts how hard you work and how much value you're worth. And don't let anybody take that away from you. Don't feel the need to be validated externally from other people. And I used to do this a lot. And I probably learned it at a very young age. It's like, you do your standardized tests, and it's like, oh, good job. Oh, you kind of went a little outside the box there. So where were you going? Maybe that's what's happening. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're teaching in class these days. I really don't know. But what I'm going to say to you is, this is where ultimately self-love is the ultimate answer. And it's that, well, let's get into it. So how do you battle it? Like, how do you battle imposter syndrome as this superwoman, this superman that feels like they need to be working in order to feel validated? So it's about training yourself to veer away from external validation and just knowing that internally you are validating yourself. Like, you don't need anyone else to give you a pat on the back, because at the end of the day, you got to do that for you. And you have to learn to take constructive criticism and not take things so personally. This was something that I really had to work on, because I used to take things so personally, and it's not about that. It's not an attack on you. It's just work. It's just progress. It's just, you going through the motions, you performing at your very best. And it's okay not to be perfect. Like, it's kind of like going back to the perfectionism. You're striving for excellence. You don't have to, work 12 hours a day or whatever it is to achieve that, like to feel validated. And the other thing I want to say is set time limits and plan. I can tell a lot when I look in someone's planner. If someone is typically stressed out, or they don't know how to manage their time, a lot of it comes down to not having your priorities right, or not even knowing what you're supposed to do. You're just kind of like working for the sake of working. And like scrolling through Facebook, that is not working. So I know a trend, and I'm just mentioning it now because it's a trend that I've been seeing. And it happens to me. Like, I have to make sure that I'm very aware of it now, but it's something that you have to build practice on. It's about, people feel like especially when they're high achieving entrepreneurs, social media, you have to be on social media, especially if you're running an online business. Like, it can feel like you have to be on social media all the time. And if you feel like that, I'm just going to say that you don't have to. You don't. Like, even if you're on your own, I get it. Like, you're a solopreneur, you're starting out, but you just take what you can, just do what you can do at your very best. You don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to spend all day on your phone. What I do is I block an hour. And sometimes I'll block, half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, or whichever it is, but I'll dedicate some time and I will put a timer on. I will. Because it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm just going to send a few messages. Oh, wait, what's so-and-so doing? Oh, and then you're just distracted all over the place. But it's so easy to feel like you're working when you're not actually working. And then at the end of the day, you're like, what did I do today? So it's all within your control. And, I know we've talked a lot. I want to wrap this up because, I'm very appreciative of your time, and I've got a little more packing to do. I can't lie, but, this is a really juicy topic, the imposter syndrome, and how, certain traits that you have or certain personality types that you identify yourself with, how you can actually do certain things to help combat this imposter syndrome. And so that, I don't know if it'll ever go away, but it's certainly something that you can get better and better at, and you can get stronger and stronger, and you can find more happiness and more fulfillment in your life when you don't have to deal with, imposter syndrome at its worst, because it can be really debilitating. It really can be. So if you like today, head over to my Life Fulfillment Academy community. It's a free community on Facebook. I'll put the link in the comments as well. But would love to have you there if you find these sort of things helpful, these strategies, these techniques. We do daily challenges, and those are there to really help you break free, break through, and create lasting transformation in your life. So would love to see you there. And on that note, have a pleasant evening, and I'll keep you updated on my travels. All right, everybody, have a great night. See you later. Bye.